Hello, and welcome to another episode of the Hungry Bleak podcast. I am Antonio Pomares. I hope you've all had a great day, phenomenal week. If it wasn't good, I hope it's getting there. Hope you drank water, and I hope you're ready to have some fun today. So, you all know that obviously I do a podcast. I do a couple of them actually, but I also listen to podcasts, and not all podcasts are just somebody talking endlessly, kind of like this here. Some of them are really great scripted drama, comedy, sci-fi, action. There are a lot of different genres of podcasts, and it's great because it feels like you're listening to like old radio shows, which I'm not old enough to have listened to radio shows, but I know of them, and I think it's one of the coolest things possible is to just sit there and listen to this story unfold in your ears, and the voice actors and bringing it's just so awesome to me. So I know we usually talk about comics on here or sometimes gaming, but I wanted to spread out into the geek culture a little bit more because it's a really, really cool um, just medium to do so much with. And I love the exploration of that. So today, excuse me, I am so lucky to have someone on who is uh, creator of one of my favorite podcasts out there right now. It's a podcast called Afflicted, and it has one of my favorite people in it as well doing a voice, and that's how I learned about the podcast. So folks, without further ado, let's just jump into this. Please welcome Tonia Ransom.
Hello. Thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited to be here.
Hello, thank you so very much for being here. Also, I absolutely love the background. I love all the books. I was looking at it and I was like, I don't want to be weird about it, but I love seeing all the books. It's just so cool. The different, yeah, awesome.
Yes.
I love that. How are you
Thank
doing
you.
today?
I'm doing pretty good. I'm doing pretty good. How about yourself?
I'm doing very well. It's a nice kind of spring day,
Nice.
not too sunny, but I'm enjoying it. It's not raining, it's not snowing, so I'm going to take it. That's cool. So, yeah, like I'm just in awe of Afflicted because it's so cool and I love it. I listen to it when I'm at work, and at times I've had to stop and I'm in a scene and I'm like, "Ooh, what's gonna? Oh, I didn't think about. Oh, that's really cool." Yeah. So, how did you get started with the podcasts and Ransom Productions?
Oh, okay. Well, I wanted to start a podcast. You mentioned old time radio during your introduction.
Mhm.
That was my inspiration for podcasts.
Oh,
I listened before iPods were like a real thing. There was still internet radio that you could listen to like on your computer. And I can't listen to music when I work because it distracts me. Like I don't know why, like that's just how my brain works. Like I need something that's not music, especially music that I know the lyrics to. I can tune out like TV shows and things like that and half pay attention to them even and kind of know what's going on, and that just seems to work better for my brain. So I was a web developer at the time, working at a startup, so working really long hours. So I filled my time while I was working with listening to old time radio like The Whistler and Suspense and shows like that. And I thought, man, it would be really cool to bring back this medium. This is before podcasts
mhm.
were actually a thing. And I was like, but I'm a web developer. I don't have connections in radio. No one's going to give me money to create a radio show because there's not even radio shows now
Mhm.
that do fiction. And then podcast became a thing, and I was like, oh, okay, I can do this now. There's a much lower barrier to entry, and I kept putting it off like most people do, procrastinating, waiting for the right time. But there is no right time. There is just now, and
Thank
so I
you.
decided to do it. And so I started Nightlight, was my first podcast. I wanted to do a full cast audio drama like Afflicted is, but those are more expensive to produce. And so I knew that I wouldn't have the funds to be able to do what I actually wanted to do, which was essentially recreating an old time radio show for modern day. And so I ended up doing Nightlight, where voice actors read a story to you. We put sound effects and music underneath it. So there's some sound design aspects to it to dramatize it a little bit. So it was kind of a nice in between thing that got me into the podcast game, but I wasn't quite where I wanted to be with the full cast audio drama. And then that's where Afflicted came in. And it's actually the brainchild of me and Mallory O'Meara. We talked about this, oh gosh, I think it's like 2017 when we were first like, yes, let's start this podcast. Let's do this podcast. And then Mallory's writing career kind of blew up, and she does the Reading Glasses podcast as well. And she's like, I don't have any time. I'm so sorry. And I was like, that's okay. And she was very generous and said, just take it and run with it, and do what you want with it. And so that's what I did. And last summer, actually, I raised almost $20,000 to produce season 1 of
Wow.
Candid, which was great, but was not enough money. Really, like, to pay people what they deserve to be paid. It's still enough money, but it was enough money to get us started and know where we need to allocate more funds next year, and hopefully teach us a lot of lessons to make season 2 even better when we start fundraising for that. So that's kind of where I am now. And I started Ransom Media Productions when I started Afflicted, essentially because I was like, well, I have 2 podcasts now. I need something to sort of create an umbrella for those things. And for tax and legal purposes, it just makes more sense to have an LLC. So I jumped on that last year to get that going.
I'm kind of in awe because so this is like your second podcast, but the way everything is formatted, everything, I thought you had done this before, like maybe 3 or 4 of them. So so that's like incredible. Like, it's phenomenal, truthfully. And I love the fact
Thank
that
you.
one of the things that drew me to Afflicted was I would listen to Nightlight. I found out about Nightlight through M Shy Dash.
Oh yeah, I love M Shy.
So I mean, just because I'm a fan of her, she's just awesome person, dope. And she read a story on Nightlight, and then she was talking about Afflicted. So I was like, oh, so this is already a podcast up, but it hadn't started yet. So I was like, okay. And I love the fact that one of the main things that stuck in my head was you wanted to pay people for the work.
Yes.
And that stuck to me. And I was like, yeah, because there are a lot of things out there that are startups. And I understand, sometimes you have to grind through it. And what's the term that the younger people say? Pull it out the mud. Is that the term? Is that it?
I don't know. I'm old. So.
Okay. All right. Fair enough. Okay. Then I want to say, if I'm wrong, somebody tell me. But
somebody will tell you.
Yeah, they definitely will, especially nowadays. So I understand that sometimes, when you're building something, it takes time to get to the revenue and stuff like that. And even you saying that raising $20,000 still wasn't enough. But the fact that you still did that, just so you could say, hey, I want to give you this, hit me also. And I love the fact that you wanted to create something, but then take care of the people who are actually helping you bring it to life.
Yes. Yeah. I don't like the idea of unpaid labor, especially unpaid skilled labor. With Nightlight, we did start off with volunteer sound designers. But the thing that I kind of did was say, hey, if you want to get into sound design, I will teach you how to do it if you do the sound design for free, essentially. So it was kind of like an internship rather than just, asking for volunteer work. I wanted to pay people, but at the time, obviously, Nightlight wasn't making a lot of money. And then season 2, I was able to start paying the sound designer money, which was amazing. Like, I was so happy to be able to do that. And now all of the roles for both podcasts, whatever anyone does, whether they're cast or crew, everybody gets paid. I don't get paid as much as I would like to pay them because I need people to give me more money so that I can give other people more money, but I'm able to pay them an above average wage for the industry that we're in. It's just that the industry that we're in, the wages are low to begin with, because there's a lot of people asking people to work for free, essentially.
Right. Well, I think that's awesome. Now, Afflicted. Yes, I already know who my favorite characters are.
Right.
and the recent episode I listened to, I wanted to punch one of the characters in the face and then hit him with a 2x4. I was so mad. I was like, why would you? And I didn't think I was going to dislike this person that much. And in the earlier episodes, I was like, kind of swarmy. You can kind of smell the high karate on his neck, like the cologne. I can smell it. So it's that. So tell us about Afflicted. And I didn't even realize that I don't know why I didn't realize that there was merch for Afflicted, because I love a good t-shirt.
Yes.
So, okay, that's going to be my summer present to myself. Thank you.
You can go to merch.afflictedaudio.com to grab t-shirts, notebooks, hoodies, whatever whatever floats your boat. Um, but to tell you a little bit about Afflicted, Afflicted is probably best described as Lovecraft Country meets True Blood. So, there's a lot of, cosmic sort of horror type stuff going on. Honestly, like there's a little bit of the show Supernatural in there too, if we,
Hmm.
use that as like a garnish. And then the, folklore and mythology from True Blood, not the vampire stuff, but more of like, the Southern folk magic, specifically hoodoo. So, um, it's told in the style of American Horror Story. So every season will have a different set of characters. So, once we
Oh.
wrap up this season, these characters are going to go away. But we follow this demonic book through each season. So we're kind of, in this season, we're exploring this fictional town of Gunaway in East Texas, where this book has decided to rear its ugly head and create some supernatural disasters, killing people. And the only people in town that can save the town are the Caldwells, who are well versed in hoodoo and they know how to fight this book. Next season we will explore a different story, but the book will still, feature obviously as the villain, so to speak,
Mm.
in each season.
Oh, thank you for saying True Blood, because I was listening to it the other day and I was like, I wish this is what True Blood had been. Just add in Lafayette.
Yes. So I wish I had a
And
Lafayette.
so
He was my
heartbreaking.
favorite character in True Blood.
He
100%.
he was the reason why I started watching it. And I was like, yo, this is so,
Yeah.
everything else. I was like, yeah, all right, fine. But Lafayette, I mean, he beat someone up because of what they said, because of the totally homophobic thing they said about him cooking a
Yeah.
burger.
Oh, the AIDS on the burger.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and he's like, and he was bald in the show, correct? Shaved head.
Yeah. Yeah, I think so. I
His
mean, he
shaved
usually
head,
had a
and
head covering, but
yeah,
I
and
think
he
he was
had
bald
the head
underneath.
covering, and he just laid these cats out on the everything. I'm
He
like, how
did.
do
He
you
was
not
not
love this
messing
show?
around.
And I
Right.
realized why I couldn't love the show, because of just about everyone else on the show. But anyway,
Yeah, he
yeah,
stole every scene he was in.
yeah, he did. Oh, just so heartbreaking. Just such a true loss, honestly.
Yes, yes.
Yes, but yeah, I definitely was feeling the that True Blood comparison, only much better. Truthfully, I absolutely love Afflicted.
Well, thank you. I mean, that's what I was going for. So I'm glad that it's being received
Yeah,
that
and I love
way.
the fact that it's going to be an anthology. I didn't realize that,
Yeah. Yeah.
which makes me excited, because I'm like, oh, because as much as I would love to stay with these characters and this era, I love the fact that the book is going to be the central big bad of
Yeah.
each arc, each season, and traveling
Yeah.
through it. I love that. Will you be using the same voice acting crew, or will you have different people?
Yes. Yeah, we're gonna probably have a core set of people.
Okay,
American Horror Story, they tend to have a core set of people and then,
right.
various actors that they kind of add. And we'll probably do the same thing. I actually was talking to my actors last night because we just finished our last episode table read for this season.
Oh,
And I was like, hey, we're gonna be raising money soon. And I want, some of you guys to come back. There's a couple people that I would love for them to come back. I just don't know exactly if their voices would fit for the season, so like
I understand.
there's a set of people that I'm definitely like, yes, they're coming back, and there's some other people that I still need to like work out the details of the story that I'm going to be telling in season 2 to figure out which voices I need for that season and which voices I have already. But yeah, definitely bringing the same voice actors back.
That's awesome. I love it. Yeah, it's just awesome. Um, what has been one of the more, because again, you're doing like in essence a modern time, old time radio show. What has
Mhm.
been one of the challenges of doing something like this?
Oh man, man, there's been a lot. So I have a partner in
Mhm.
Afflicted, Jen Zink. She also does some of the sound design for Nightlight. She was my first sound designer
Mm.
for Nightlight, and honestly, like Nightlight wouldn't exist if she hadn't stepped in and volunteered for that first season, because I underestimated how much clicking there is when you're editing an episode, and I have like a bad elbow
Ooh.
injury, and I physically cannot do that work. Um, so she's my partner in this venture. I'm sorry, I forgot the question already. What was the question again?
That's okay.
My poor brain today is just like, nope, we're not holding on to any information.
Look, that's the type of day, week, month, year. It's totally
Oh yeah.
cool.
Yeah.
What have been some of oh my good, now I almost forgot the question. What have been some of the challenges of bringing Afflicted
Oh,
to life?
yes, that's why I was talking about Jen. Yeah. One of the things was, my elbow,
Mm,
preventing me from being able to physically do some of the work. So there's no way that I could have started Afflicted if I
mm,
didn't have, a sound designer. The other thing is like this is also Jen's first full cast audio drama. So we were both learning how to,
wow.
essentially be, directors of a full cast, instead of just a single narrator,
Mm,
how to do the sound design for something that is a full cast, like if people are in, say, like an opera hall versus outside, their voices are going to sound different. And so on her part, it's figuring out how those voices should sound so it sounds true to the space that they're in. But also, like, of course, when you have a cast as large as we have, there's inevitably people traveling, and people get sick, and we did not give ourselves enough time in this production schedule for that kind of thing. So there's been gaps in the release of episodes just because either we couldn't record it because somebody was sick or somebody was traveling, and we just weren't able to do it. So that's been a big challenge, is just getting that schedule down. And now we have a better sense of how we need to set up that schedule and make sure that we give ourselves plenty of lead time for people being out sick, people having unexpected things occur, people traveling to conferences, whatnot. But yeah, that's I think that's probably it's just been a big learning curve. I thought that I knew more about producing and directing a full cast audio drama after working on Nightlight for, I
mhm.
think it was 3 years at that point that Nightlight had been in existence when I started Afflicted. But like it's a whole different ball game. And learning how to cast, learning how to direct actors, all of that was all just fairly new to me. And working with such talented voice actors, like not that the voice actors for Nightlight aren't great, like they are. I mean, some of them are on Afflicted as well. It's not that they aren't great. It's just a different skill set to fully act versus reading a story and just sort of, acting out some of the language in the story. And being able to direct like these really talented people was really difficult for me at first, because I'm not really an actor. Like I do a lot of narration work, I do some voice acting work, but I'm by no means a professional voice actor. And so I kind of had to learn how voice actors work, how they think, how they approach characters and things like that, so that I could give them the information they needed to give me a good performance.
Yeah, what you're saying as far as like being it different, yeah, there. I would say, like you said, there's a huge difference between you just reading a story itself and you actually
Mhm.
acting. You like essentially becoming this character,
Yeah.
and if that person might need an accent, or because I've heard like the cast like obviously act in the
Hmm.
in Afflicted, but then I've also heard them say their names like at the end when when there's like the
Yeah.
cast, and I'm like, wait, that's the
That's
voice,
the same
like,
person. Yeah.
and I'm like, oh, okay, so yeah, it's
Yeah.
different, and everything is a learning curve. I feel these days, especially when you said the perfect thing, and that's when I was like, yes, there's never a right time. There will
No.
never be. You can say, oh, well, when it's right. I'm like, yeah, all right, fine. You tell me when that's going to be, because it's
Right.
never going to be a right time.
Exactly. The
And
right time is when it's not the wrong time.
exactly. And even then, sometimes you're like, look,
Right. Sometimes you gotta do what you gotta do.
this is
Yeah.
it. And I feel like that's especially in creative spaces. There's never going to be a right time, I feel, to do that thing. You have
Mhm.
to sometimes make that the right time.
Yes. Yeah.
And you never know, like you put that out there and someone will read it, someone will listen to it, someone will look at the art, whatever it is, and they'll say, yeah, that's the right time because you hit that person and they
Yeah.
needed that little bit of escape or that game or that book or what
Yeah.
have you. So that's a perfect. I feel like that's the perfect
Mhm.
thing to say to any creative ever. What's the biggest advice that you can say? There's never going to be a right time. Do it now.
Just
Do
do
it
it.
tomorrow. Do it.
Yep.
If you've raised the money for whatever project you're trying to do it. If you finally have at least three of your eggs in a basket out of 5.
Right, yeah. Then you're good. You're good.
Exactly, because that's still more than what you thought you
Yes,
were gonna have.
start with what you got because 'cause you're not gonna have everything you need to start with because you don't know everything you need when you first start. So you've gotta start at some point just so you know, like, what the lay of the land is, and
Mhm.
you can figure out, "Okay, here's where I need to improve. Oh, and this stuff doesn't matter."
Yeah, and like you said, you'll learn along the way. You'll go, okay, that didn't work. This didn't work.
Mhm.
This is good. This is good. And
Yes.
then it just kind of becomes like, oh, well, it almost becomes like something that you become more relaxed. And the more
Yes.
you're relaxed, the more you're feeling it, the more you have fun, and it just begins to flow. I learned that myself doing this by myself.
Yes.
And I was like, I don't know what I'm. Oh, let's hit the button. Okay, let's go. Let's.
Yeah, yeah, it's all experimentation, because I mean, you
Yeah.
can't, like, go to college, for instance, and get a degree in podcasting, there
Hmm.
programs are starting to pop up, like continuing education, certificate type
Right.
programs to teach you, how to use, like, Adobe Audition and, things like that, but there's not really, like, one single location where you can just learn how to podcast properly. And
Mhm.
honestly, like, I don't think anyone knows how to podcast properly because the industry is still just changing so much. And, there's so many innovations. And then, you've got these people with, big fat checkbooks coming in that are kind of
Mm.
changing the game versus, small indie people like you and me. So it's a hard industry to pin down because it's so new right now.
Yeah, and there's so many different ways to do it. Everyone's got their own style, their own affliction, their own topics, their own shtick, their own what have you. Like
Yes.
I've tried. When I first started, I was with a group of people, and I was part of a show, and I learned a lot from doing it. I learned a lot of the wrong way to do things,
Yes.
and I learned the right way, and then I learned new ways that some of them I did them right, some of them I did them wrong. It just depended. So yeah, it's
Right.
a hard thing to nail down.
Yes. 100%.
Afflicted. I know this is probably going to be a tough question for you.
All right.
Give me two of your favorite characters.
Oh, that's actually not that difficult at
Oh,
all.
okay.
I would say Kelly is my favorite character.
Oh.
Um, Kelly is sort of this amalgamation of so there used to be this guy that lived in Austin. He was an unhoused person. And he was queer and he would like roller skate downtown wearing like string bikinis on. Like his name was Leslie. Everybody loved Leslie. Just, beautiful soul, but, super strange, when you look at societal standards. So Kelly is loosely modeled on Leslie.
Mm-hmm.
But then also, in a lot of ways modeled after me. Someone that struggles with mental illness, and in Kelly's case, it's not necessarily real mental illness. It's that people perceive that Kelly has mental illness because Kelly hears these voices, but they are actually real to him.
Mm-hmm.
He has this connection with the divine. And, that's something that I strive for in my own life is connecting with the divine and the universe and just being interconnected with everything. So, I would say that's one of the reasons that Kelly is one of my favorite characters, but also Cass Mentor, the actor who plays Kelly, really took what I wrote and built on that and made Kelly even better than I had imagined in the beginning. So Cass is a huge part of why I really love Kelly as well. Um, I'd say my second favorite character is probably Mama Cherry. Um,
Yes.
she's modeled after my real aunt who passed away, I guess, 15 years ago. Um,
Mm-hmm.
last February. Her name was Cherry. And, very, very sassy, very protective of the people that she loved. Very much, I don't take anything from anybody
Yes.
kind of attitude. And also another aunt that passed away, a great aunt. Her name was Ethel, and she was one of the first Black nurses to graduate. I think it was Berkeley in California. She graduated from Berkeley in California. She was one of the first Black women to do that and become a nurse. And then when she retired, she started her own floral shop. And I would go visit her in California sometimes during the summer, and she would teach me all kinds of crafty things, like how to make bows, how to do floral arrangements, things that she loved to do in the floral shop and then just outside of that. So, my love of crafting kind of came from my Aunt Ethel. So I kind of combine my Aunt Ethel and my Aunt Cherry into the character of Mama Cherry. So they're very close to my heart. And for that reason, definitely a favorite, because I get to almost reconnect with these people that I've lost in writing these characters.
That's really cool. Yeah, Kelly is the most recent episode. I won't spoil it, but the most recent episode, I was so protective of Kelly, and I was like, "Why would you lie? Why would you?" I was like, "Oh, why are you trying to hurt Kelly?" And I was out for a walk, and I was drinking something, I think, at the time, and I had to stop drinking. I was like, "Why would you lie? Why would you lie like that?" And I was so very protective of Kelly. So yes, I totally I think every town has a Kelly, has a
Yes.
Leslie. I think
Yeah.
every town has that one person. If you
Yes.
don't know who that person is, you might be that person.
Right.
Maybe not to that level, but you
Right.
might be that person. And that's a
Yeah.
cool thing, because every
Yeah. I think
town
it's an
needs
amazing
a
thing.
Leslie slash
Yes.
Kelly.
Every town needs
Um,
that lovable weirdo who has a
yeah,
heart of gold and just refuses to participate in these structures that society has built that we're supposed to stay boxed into.
yeah, because that's not their thing. That's just not their
No.
thing.
And yeah,
Um,
they just nope. Like Kelly, like refuses to participate in capitalism. Like nope.
mhm.
I'm just gonna, like you watch these shows on TV where people, dumpster dive and all these things, find place, squat in houses so that essentially they don't have to participate in capitalism. And that's who Kelly is very committed to his morals and principles, and just kind of wants to detach from all societal expectations and just be himself.
Yes. And Mama Cherry, absolutely yes. Every time I hear Mama Cherry say bitters, like I giggle a little bit because the word hits so much. Um, and that's definitely a credit to M. Shyas Dash, who
Yes.
voices Mama Cherry.
Oh, and she has
Um,
the perfect voice for Mama Cherry. Like,
yes,
I knew as soon as we were gonna do this that I was gonna ask her to audition for that role, because just, like, her voice is perfect.
she has that auntie voice
Yes.
that it's like no, it's like no, no,
Right,
like that
right.
auntie voice, but that cool, like that cool bougie auntie that comes into town for whatever family event, might have kids, might not have kids, does their thing, and that's like, yeah, I'm not doing this, and leaves.
Right.
Does again, someone who does not fit into that box that you want to
Right.
fit into. They're like,
Yeah.
yeah, no, I'm
Life's
good.
too short,
Yeah,
Imma do what I want.
yeah, exactly. And when everybody else is acting a fool, they're like, why is everybody doing such dumb? I don't understand why. Doesn't make any
Right.
sense. So yes, I my personally, Mama Cherry, yes, but also August.
Yes, yes.
It's just yeah, August hits me like I feel like I can hear the weight in August's voice and the
Yes.
dialogue. I feel there's such a weight and heaviness to it, and I think that hits me a little bit. And I'm like, damn, like I want to take him to like a ball game or like something festive, like take
Right.
bowling, something just go, I want you to smile, damn it. I want you to have a good
Yes.
day today, August, please.
Yes. Oh, I
Yeah,
love
so
August. And August
yeah.
is actually it's loosely modeled after Mallory's grandfather and named after Mallory's grandfather, who she loves very much. So
Oh,
that's kind of how we came up with that character. I ended up making him black in the
mm,
series because it made more sense for him to be black. It made more sense for him to be part of the Caldwell family. But Christian Young plays August, and Christian is an amazing actor. Like, you look at his picture, you would never guess that that is the sound that comes out of his mouth. you know like, I mean, just amazing, and such a professional to work with, just always on his game. Just, I love working with Christian so much.
it's yeah, the cast is, I mean, like I said, those are my two favorite characters, but the cast does such an incredible job. And like I said, when I would hear them actually, when there was the cast at the end and they're each saying their name and who they played, and I was dumbfounded. I was like, I had to rewind to make sure I heard properly. Like, that's not the same
Right, like,
actor did that
hold
role.
up.
That's not. And it felt like it was a soap opera, like when they change actors and they go now playing the role of this character is different. I'm like, was that the
Yeah.
same actor? There's no, they must
Right.
have changed it, right?
Oh yeah.
So I love that,
Yeah,
truthfully.
Amanda is great. Amanda plays Becky.
Mhm.
And she's great at kind of being this malicious, malevolent valley girl who's possessed by a demon. But it's funny when we do table reads, sometimes like she'll speak in different accents, and she does this amazing British accent. And
Mm.
so I'm like, okay, I want a British character next season just so I can
Yes.
cast Amanda because they're great.
I love that you're making notes like, okay, so you can do that? Okay. Just gonna make a little note
Yeah,
here. I'm
yeah.
gonna
Oh, I cannot
next
wait. I hope
season.
we get funded so that you can hear Amanda's British accent because it is on point. Amanda is they have such range, just
Yeah.
huge range as an
I
actor.
I absolutely love it. This is the type of thing where because I started realizing that I don't just have comfort shows and comfort movies. I have comfort comics. I have like things that like comfort like that. And I've started realizing this is gonna be like a comfort listen for me. So after
Yeah.
I'm done with this season, and time goes by and I'm like, you know what? And I'll go back and listen to it again because it just
Yeah.
has that feel. And I love that feel.
Thank you so much for saying
That's
that.
all
That's That's
I mean
honestly
for
like my biggest goal as a writer is to put things out there that people want to consume again and again and again to, explore some of the intricacies in it, and as, a comforting thing because, they already know what's going to happen. And so now it's just, oh, I can just listen to this and enjoy it and, dissect it or, whatever people want to do. But yes, that's my biggest goal as a writer is to give people things that they can rewatch, re-listen, reread, and have a better experience every time.
yeah, well you definitely done that with these characters and with the story. And I love the fact that you want to do an anthology and more and the central I love that detail of having that be the big bad of each season and seeing again how they interact and how this new group of characters will deal with it. Will it go
Yeah.
as well as it did in this season?
Yeah.
Will it go worse?
Find
We don't
out.
know.
Yeah.
So I'm very excited for it. And like I said, this is I listen to I think there's Afflicted, which is audio drama. I listen to Impact, which is Impact Winter, excuse me, which is audio drama, and Midnight Burger. Those are the three, and they're all so different. They're not in any type
Yeah.
of group,
Yeah.
and I'm like, yeah, and it just feels. I think out of all of them, the all could be written and done, but this I feel like is going to be a comfort for me, and I love that. So thank you to you, the
Thank
cast,
you.
everyone involved in it. It's just so awesome for it. But as a creator, as a human being, um, as a woman in this world, one of the most important things is that we take care of ourselves, not just physically, but also mentally and emotionally. And that's something that I always pay attention to when doing any episode, especially with interviews, because I'm always curious what people do.
Yeah.
What is a self-care tip that you do that helps you to maintain your emotional and mental health and that helps to keep you grounded?
I'm gonna be honest, like I'm still trying to find that
That's
thing. I used to have that thing. So I got diagnosed with PTSD after my dad's death in 2009. I didn't actually get diagnosed for 2 or 3 years after that. Like, I just thought it was like, this is how you grieve a parent and it sucks, but it was actually more than that. Got help, got better, and then went through a really bad divorce and got complex PTSD from
mm,
that. And I've only been divorced for about 3 years now. So I'm, still like trying to fix my brain back, to where it doesn't see negativity in things and things like that. So right now, the things that I do for myself is I have my Instagram feed curated to be like my favorite people who are, positive, because you have some friends that, they tend to just, when they post on social media, it's negative stuff. And then you have the people that, post memes and happy things. And so my Instagram feed is curated for happy news, like Upworthy and good news. And like, we rate dogs, like fun stuff like that. And then my friends who, post a lot of positive things, like that is my safe place
mm,
online where I can go and know that I'm not going to encounter anything that's going to destroy my mood or, get, get in there and start nagging at me and making me worry about, all the crap that's going on in the world right now. Um, So that's a big thing that I do. I have started meditating every day, and honestly, like,
Mhm.
that has probably been the biggest thing that's helped me like intercept those harmful thought patterns and say, "Oop, nope, nope, we're not going to think this," and gently correct myself into going the other direction. It just helps me be more present and focused in the moment, whereas before it was very much, like, I'm thinking about everything but what I'm doing right now. Like, my mind was all over the place, and it's really helped me focus a lot, which is astounding because I also have ADHD. So, um, so focusing for me is really difficult, and the PTSD makes it harder. Like, I've had it all my life, but I didn't, I was able to manage it pretty well until I got the PTSD, and then that just like it just they snowball and just make each other worse. So yeah, meditation, happy stuff on social media. I do a lot of things to try to connect with the divine. The energy of the earth, the world, whatever
Mhm.
people, God, whatever people want to call it. So just spending some time out in nature, looking up at the sky, and just listening and being present and doing nothing. I would say that those are my biggest things. I should exercise, but I'm terrible at making myself do that. I'm working on it. I know that it would be super helpful. Like, I know that I need to. It's just a matter of making myself do it at this point, and I'll get there. It's just one of those things where everybody struggles with getting started, at some point, especially something that they don't necessarily want to do. So I'll get there.
Those are all great things, and thank you for being so open and honest and transparent
Yes.
about that. I feel it's so important because, like on social media, we do see a lot of the shine of a thing, but we never see like what it started out as or what
Yes.
happened after just wear and tear of life. We
Yes.
just see, oh yeah, I made it. Yeah, this is it. We don't see
Hmm.
the person sweating in a over a
Right,
dusting
crying
over.
themselves to sleep, for
Exactly.
whatever reason that they have going on. And I think the pandemic has made it hard on everybody. Like, I
Yeah.
don't think anybody's having like a I think there are very few people whose mental health is still intact after
Hmm.
this pandemic. It's just a matter of how bad is it?
Hmm. And I think yeah, the pandemic was as horrible as it was, or still is, question mark.
Right?
Not really sure where we're at right now,
I don't know either.
but we're outside, so I'm gonna take that as a win.
Yes, yes.
Again, parentheses, question mark, not sure.
Right.
But yeah, I think that the pandemic opened up a lot of people's eyes to mental health,
Hmm.
and because you were inside with your own thoughts,
Yes.
and you didn't have like everybody to interact or maybe mask it
Yes.
so well. So I think that
Isolated and disconnected.
yeah, so you found out about yourself, and some people also found out about partners as well,
Hmm.
and you found that out, and yeah, so it did open up. So I think more people are talking about meditation and therapy
Yes.
and finding out ways. So that was something that I really wanted to hit upon because it's very important. And I want people to see that even if it's someone who you're a huge fan of, you're like, oh man, I love that person's work. I'm a huge fan. Oh man, they're always great, so happy. There are days when they're not happy. There are days when they're looking at their work and they crumple it up
Oh, yeah,
and you
that
see
was
a
me.
huge pile behind them. I mean, not everybody uses
Yeah,
notepad.
metaphorically, yes, I
Yeah,
have a
like some people
huge
use a
pile of
tablet, but
discarded stuff behind me. I
yeah,
hate
but it
everything I write the
happens.
first time, but the worse my mental health is, the more that I hate it. Like, I just can't see the good in it
Hmm.
when, I'm in that headspace, after I've been triggered or something. And it makes it really hard for me to be it's hard enough to be objective about your work as a creator to begin with, but then
Hmm.
you also have this other layer of everything is tinted negatively. And so you just think, you look at what you write and you're like, oh, this is terrible, nobody's gonna enjoy this, like, because I just wrote the season finale um for Afflicted, which, lesson learned, write the whole season ahead of time instead of writing as I'm going along. Like, I'm glad that we did it this way because we ended up having to like write out and adjust certain characters because one of our characters lost her voice for like an entire month and a half.
Oh
And
wow.
so if I'd had everything written ahead of time, I would have had to rewrite those episodes. So, it worked out the way that it should have for this season.
Hmm.
But next time I want to have everything together, before we start production, and just, get all of the recording done, in the span of, a month or two. Um, but yeah, I mean, I just, like I said, I just finished the last episode of the season finale of Afflicted. And, I was triggered a few weeks ago, and I stay in that state for a few weeks. And so I wrote this episode while I was in like a really dark place. Um, and I don't like it. I'm told that other people love it. Like we had the table read last night, and all the actors were like, "Oh my god, this is amazing! I love how you wrap this up," and blah blah blah. So like I know it's my brain lying to me, but like I'm terrified to release that episode because it's the season finale. It's supposed to be a banger, and I wasn't at 100%. So even if it is good, I know that it could have been better, and like that's something that I have to give myself grace on. I did good work. I'm not able to recognize that I did good work just yet. It's not as good as I wanted it to be, but it's done, and it's going to be out there, and it's going to be okay. I don't think it's so bad that people will be like, nope, I'm not giving you any money for season 2.
Yeah.
Even though I don't like it, I know that it's not that bad where people are just going to be like, I'm done. I'm not listening to this anymore.
They're taking off your earbuds.
Yeah. Right. I know it's not that bad, but when it's your baby, you're like, oh my god, people are gonna hate it. They're gonna leave terrible reviews, and things like that.
I've learned. Well, first of all, the social media thing is very important because I think, as I've said numerous times on this show, I don't like social media. If it was a shack, I would have burned it down already.
And salted the earth.
Enjoy it. Yeah, I truly just because there are things in there that I started realizing at the beginning of this year that trigger me. They trigger my insecurities. They trigger what I don't like about myself. And I started comparing myself to people that I shouldn't. And I'm like, I don't know that person's journey. They're different, whatever. Right. So I started to, as much as I want these people to succeed, I started unfollowing them.
Yeah.
Like I'll still be friends with them on Facebook, what have you, but I unfollow. I don't see anything that they're going on. Yeah. I want them to succeed. I want them to prosper. I want them to do incredible things, but I don't need to, because it wasn't doing me any favor. And me doing that is never about the other person negatively at all.
It's about me. Yeah.
Yeah. And
I have a lot of people muted on Facebook, people that complain a lot. Like I love them. I want to be supportive of them and I want to help them, but I'm often not healthy enough to be that person for them. And, them doing what they need to do, to get whatever, venting, but whatever reason they're posting that stuff on social media, obviously they're doing it because they believe it's going to help them. It's hurting me. So I just mute them and, I keep moving. Like I still consider them friends. I still love them, but I can't have them have access to me in that way.
Yeah, that's totally understandable because it's about you protecting yourself. It's not about hurting them or not liking them. It's about you protecting. You can do both.
Yeah. Yes, exactly.
You can do both.
I can love you from over here,
Exactly. I can love what you're doing and you as a person, everything that you're going out, but that particular portion is not for me. So I'm not going to take it. That's fine. So we're talking about self-care and everything like that. So I changed this a little bit. Normally on the show, because this is more usually comic book more oriented. So I asked people, what are 3 comic books that you like? I said for you, look, it could be a comic book, it could be a television show, it could be a podcast, whatever. What are 3 things that you would recommend to someone?
Well, I got you. I got a comic book, I got a TV show, and I have an actual book.
Wow.
Okay, so the graphic novel, like I debated on whether or not I wanted to choose this, but it's Death Note. Like Death Note is just like I love Death Note. Death Note is what got me in to I didn't grow up reading comics. Like I always read books like Christopher Pike, R.L. Stine, and as I got older, branching out into other authors. So it wasn't it did not, I guess, occur to me that graphic novels would be a medium that I would want to read in, because I thought it was all like superhero tales, which like I don't really have anything against superhero tales, but I prefer horror, supernatural type stuff, things like that. And I didn't think that existed in the comic book world. And it turns out that it does. And Death Note was my entrance into that. And it led me to, so many more amazing works. So I'm going with Death Note just because of how much it means to me. Awesome. Even though it's super obvious. As far as TV shows, The Haunting of Hill House by Mike Flanagan. Just so good like that. You talk about watching stuff over and over again is like a comfort thing.
Yes.
that's my comfort thing, along with the Twilight Zone. Both of those are my, like, I'm sick, I don't feel well, I'm in, depressive state, whatever, whatever is going on. That's what I put on to, kind of help lift my spirits. And, I think it also makes me a better writer because, the more I watch it, the more I see some of the things that Mike does in his work. And he's just an amazing writer, an amazing director. And, every time you watch his stuff, you get something else out of it as a storyteller if you're looking at it through that lens. So definitely that one. And then finally, I read this book called This Thing Between Us by Gus Moreno last year. And like, it's such a good book. It deals with themes of grief, which is, something that I've dealt with a lot in my life, especially recently. And, that book spoke to me, in a lot of ways, and, sort of validated some of the things that I was struggling with. And I mean, it was just also a really compelling story. Like, it's been really hard for me to read full length work, these last couple of years. It takes me a lot longer to get through books than it used to. Like, I used to, have a big book and I'd get through it in a day, 2 max, but now it takes me a couple of weeks. But I went through that one in like 3 or 4 days. And that's the first time that I've like blown through, a regular size novel that quickly. Wow. It was just so compelling and spoke to me in so many ways.
Well, you not only understood the assignment, you surpassed it. Because you
I'm an overachiever.
I mean, well, you definitely did. I mean, you're getting like 3 gold stars. Like, you definitely were just like, okay, Death Note. I love the fact that the people I've had on recently who I've asked, they haven't just said like comics themselves, but they've gone with manga, which are just Japanese comics. Yeah. So I love that that's becoming a thing, and the thought process of it is. And I haven't read Death Note, but I watched the entire anime.
Yes.
And I watched the live action movie.
Yeah.
And I remember watching Death Note. I lived in Illinois at the time, and it was coming on Adult Swim. And I was like, oh, well, let me check this out. And it wasn't like, the 5-episode powering up of a character and trying to, it wasn't that. And I was watching and I was like, this is so different and so wild. And I was just so, and my partner at the time was like, what is this? And I was like, Death Note. She really wasn't into anime or anime. She wasn't she wasn't into geek at all.
Oh no.
Yeah. So it was, well, it's not, well, we're not together anymore. So,
right.
there are numerous other reasons. That was the least of our worries. But she was like, what's it? And I was like, yeah, I've just started watching it, but it's a notebook that he got from a demon, and just describing the tale and just the thought process and how it was the mind games and little loopholes, everything. So awesome. So yes. Hill House. Yes. That's something I want to rewatch. I think this fall. I started gearing up for quote unquote scary season in summertime. I started watching horror, anything, whatever. I have like some horror comics too that I love reading. Because Joe Hill had like a whole line with DC, the Hill House stuff, which I want to go through and read. But yeah, it was just so good, and how it was, and how I love the fact that the ghosts didn't do anything. They were just, it was like the family was turning themselves, but they're like, aren't we supposed to be haunting them? Did we do any of this? No, this wasn't us, right? Yeah. So well done, so well acted, so just incredible. Even what was The Haunting of Bly Manor? Was that the second one?
Yes. Yeah, that was the second one.
That was great too. A great love story, but this one, a Hill House is just so. And how they say there's a ghost in every scene. Literally, if you look, there's a ghost every scene. And I was like, really? And that's what I realized. I was like, yeah, they're just standing. They're just like,
yeah, they're everywhere. I had COVID like last August, and so like, I was laying in bed doing nothing, and so I watched Hill House, and like I decided I was gonna watch for the ghosts in every scene, and they're everywhere. And it's amazing how you don't notice them. Most of them the first watch,
because you're so focused on the family. And then like I said, like on episode like 4, so I was like, wait, the ghosts haven't done anything. Like the family's the one that's doing all the damage.
Yeah.
And then when you realize it's about grief and the stages of grief and everything, and how each child and everybody's little think pieces, such like that. And I was like, this is incredible. Holy cow.
An amazing character study with, horror as the backdrop for it. I mean, Mike Flanagan, he's my favorite director, 100%. I watch everything that he puts out, like as soon as I possibly can.
Yeah, and I love how everything's linked in some way, shape,
Oh
or
yeah,
form. You'll
there's a
see like a book
Flaniverse.
here. There's that whole thing. I think that's awesome. It's great. And the book that you mentioned was The Thing Between Us.
This Thing Between Us,
This Thing
yes.
Between Us. I want to check that out. I want to look that up because I love something that makes me think or is going to open my mind up in a different way,
Yeah.
and to maybe help me heal from something that I'm not
Yeah.
completely prepared to admit to myself.
Yes. Yeah, that's what it was for me, for sure.
Yeah, which is awesome. So the last thing, folks, it's in the title. I say this to you every episode. The hungry is in the title. I don't understand this. So give me a restaurant that you absolutely love and a dish from that restaurant.
Okay, so there's this place called Mouton's that is northwest of Austin,
Okay.
and they serve Cajun food.
Ooh.
And my favorite dish from there, my favorite dish period, is shrimp and grits. But it's their shrimp and grits that is like top tier, my favorite shrimp and grits anywhere. Just super, super good.
Okay. 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 I'm always, I think at one point, because I'm heavily influenced by Food Network, as I've said before, when I'm recording these and the TV is on silent, but there's Food Network is always on in the
Yeah,
background because it's like it's either that or my local news. It's a comforting thing. It feels great, you
yeah,
know. So one of my favorite shows is Triple D, Diners, Drive-ins, and Dives.
yeah.
So I love the idea of having this bucket list roadmap
Oh,
of places
yeah.
I'd love to go and eat. So I think when I ask people that, I'm like, yeah, it's great, great. And I'm like, okay, I got to remember that place because if some way, shape, or form I'm in that area, I need to hit that spot.
Yes.
I might not eat what that person recommended because I might not like that
Right.
particular what in there, but I definitely want
Yeah.
to eat in that place.
Yes.
So yes, thank you for hipping us on that place. I love little hole in place wall,
Yes.
little hole in the wall places. They give the best stuff, the best food. Chains can be nice. Nothing against chains. There are a
Yes.
couple of chains I actually do love, but there's something about a place that
Yes.
nobody knew on the map, but places
Yes.
got you walk in and you automatically know, oh, I'm gonna just this
Right.
meal is going
And
to
you're
hit me
supporting local business owners, which is also
exactly.
great.
And I love that. I love them knowing, hey, somebody's talking about us somewhere that we didn't know about,
Yeah.
and that's why somebody came in or what have you. I think that's the most awesome thing possible.
Yes, for
So
sure.
Tonia, thank you so very much for spending this time and just being so
Of
free and
course.
open and transparent and just giving this is way more than what I expected. And I totally
Oh,
appreciate that. Truly, thank you.
well, you're a great interviewer. Thank you.
Thank you so very much.
Made it easy.
Folks, Nightlight, okay, you are going to hear just incredible voices. Some of the voices that you'll hear on Afflicted reading just some of the best hearts. Like there was one I read when I was I was walking at 2 a.m. in the morning,
Oh, no.
and there was a story. It was I can't remember the name of the story, but it was a man and his white friend, and the white friend became. It felt like he was becoming possessed by racism.
Oh, yeah, Wet Pain. It was in 2
Yes, thank
parts.
you. Yes,
Yes, yes,
yes, yes.
yes.
And I was
Yes,
reading
by,
it.
Terrence Taylor, I think, yeah.
Yeah, and I was listening to it, and I was like, and I had to turn around and look around. I was like, this is a little darker. I was like, what's going on? And it was
What
terrifying
in the Get
because
Out?
thank you because it was like it was terrifying, and I was like, oh wow, and I could feel it and everything, and the switch that happened. You think someone is there, and then they just go. The minute he was going, boy, I was like my ears, like I got tense. I was like, you calling him a 45-year-old? The hell,
Right.
it
Yeah.
felt so. Folks, Nightlight, you're going to get these incredible stories read by amazing people. The stories are great. They're awesome, and they're going to hip you to something that maybe you haven't read. And you go check out and read that book. And then you have Afflicted, which is an incredible audio drama, a horror in the vein of True Blood times 5, better. And like you said, which I love the way you say the supernatural for garnish. It's incredible. And yeah, please fund because we need these seasons. This is one of those things that this is one of those projects where you go, yeah, we all say, oh, we need this, we need this, we need this. This is one of the things you say that we need.
Yeah.
So go listen, leave a
Doesn't
review.
happen if we don't help, so,
Exactly. It
yeah.
doesn't happen if you don't help. If you don't have the funds, I totally understand that. But like, subscribe, like all the stuff you're supposed to do for social media and everything, stop
Yes.
thinking about the negative stuff and putting out the news of people who are doing horrible things and giving them that attention.
Yeah.
and go and support
Go with
something
something good.
positive.
Yeah.
Yeah, because the work is incredible. It's fun. It's yeah, and it will totally, whatever's going on in your day, you'll get lost in like an episode. Next thing you know, you'll be on episode 5. I promise you. I promise. I was at work and I was like, I got so into it, I had to look at the watch and go, oh damn, I got something to do. Like I really was just that into it because it was so good and it felt great, and the voice acting is such on point, truly. So go and check this out. As always, folks, in the episode description, I will have the links, so you will be able to check out Nightlight. You will be able to check out Afflicted. You will see the merch, which I need to go check out as well, and you will also be able to see the information for the, what was the name of the restaurant again?
Moutons.
For
That's the name of the
Moutons.
restaurant.
I'll have all that in there, folks. Folks, this has been Tonia Ransom. Thank you so very much. I truly appreciate it.
Thank you so much for having me. This was a blast. I had a lot of fun.
And that's always the intention, folks, is for everyone to have a good time. You learn something, we have a great conversation, and that's it. So, as always, folks, look, have a great day. Drink your water, uh, take your vitamins, take your medicine, your meds, whether it's for physical, mental, or emotional ailment. That's not me policing you. I just want you to be the best you that you can be always. Okay. And at the end of the day, you do the best you can with what you got, because in the end, that's all that you get. And as you know, it takes a few seconds for this to die out. So as I hit the button, I will give you some shoulder shake. I'll give you a little bit of that Harlem shuffle shoulder shake. I got bursitis in my left hip type of move. And that's it. Have a good one. Enjoy the day, folks. I'll see you later. Peace. Oh, got to hit the button twice. I always forget.